How's it going, folks? And you're very welcome along to the Motorcycle Hour podcast, where we talk all things motorcycling. A quick shout out to our sponsors: Terence Healy Motorcycles Tullamore, your main Honda dealer for the Midlands; City Spares Motorcycling, Cherry Orchard Industrial Estate Dublin, your Honda and Suzuki agent; and motorcyclingtraining.ie, your one-stop shop for all your motorcycle training needs. Before we kick it off, we do want to give a reminder that this podcast is intended for audience of 18 years and older. So just remember this when deciding where and when you listen. How's it going, folks? And you're very welcome back to the Motorcycle Hour podcast. As I said in a video that was out last night, we're on with a bit of a special this week. We've got episode 58 coming up, and we had Dave McCann on. And Dave McCann is the current president of the MCI. Obviously, there's an awful lot of talk all over social media and stuff. Obviously, the big elections is coming up on Saturday night at their AGM. So we decided we'd get David on to have a bit of a chat about some of the stuff he's been going over, you know, with the MCI over the past couple of years, and just to get his thoughts on a few bits. I'm joined with Tony Moore is here.
Yep.
The gaffer is here, Eamon Killeen, and all 5'3" of the Charlie Riley is here. How are you, lads?
All right. Grand, but grand.
All good. All good.
Obviously, we're going to bring the interview now in a couple of minutes that we had with David. An interesting one. I think we both learned a lot, and I suppose just before we do bring an interview, the whole idea of getting David on is, obviously, we wanted to be fair. We wanted to, you know, hear exactly what's involved in the job. Obviously, the upcoming election, as I said, is on Saturday night, and we do wish the best of luck to all candidates that's going first. This wasn't a thing to come on and you know, grill him or attack him or you know, bombard him with questions. It was just to, you know, find out.
I think you know, it was a balanced debate. Robust debate is you know, that's what it's all about, and I think he acquitted himself very well. I think that you know, he had an open mic there to say what he wanted to say, and we afforded the same mic time to previous people who were on the podcast as well, and that's you know, our job. We don't have an axe to grind with anyone.
No.
And we want to give an open mic to anyone that comes on, do you know what I mean? And say what they have to say, you know.
Entitled to their
absolutely.
Shout,
Yeah.
like, I mean, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose there was a couple of interesting things which you'll hear throughout the conversation we had. Obviously, you know, there was one thing in particular just on with the funding that we went in and we discussed about, and you know, an idea that we had here we spoke about before was that maybe MCI could be more open to the general public. You know, maybe there was an opportunity there to make it accessible that the normal Joe Soap like ourselves could maybe, you know, pay a membership fee to MCI, and you know, you might get a newsletter every couple of months, and you know,
or a yearly badge, or you could do a 2 or 3 year deal or whatever. It's like Mag Ireland used to do. You know,
something like that.
And I think it'd be interesting to hear like people, even like message on the Facebook page, or whatever. But we'd like to hear like what people think of that. You know, would they be prepared to put their hand in their pocket for like 20 quid a year or 25 quid a year?
Yeah. If you knew it was going towards, you know, helping to secure, you know, funding for, I suppose, predominantly insurance, you know, to get all these road races and short circuits back up and running. Yeah, because I think the gist would be lads would it be fair in saying that?
They would, because there's guys over the years, Tony, you've seen it yourself, like over the years of the, excuse me, the bike racing we went to, the road racing, the amount of spectators. Maybe there's a family day out. Yeah. You know, you get your feet.
But generations of people that go look at it, you know what I mean? You know?
I can't see why if the MCI opened up a thing at €25 a year, and you get a little badge.
Subscription fee.
Yeah, exactly.
Affiliate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. But because the people that's out there that loves bike racing, they wouldn't mind handing in €25 if they thought, well, by Jesus, next year the road racing's still here. People look at it that way.
Exactly. Road racing, motocross, enduro, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Short circuit, yeah.
I'm just using the road racing as a
yeah, I think, look,
conversation.
it'd be interesting to hear people's thoughts on that, but I definitely, as you'll hear us, we chatted on that. That was the one idea we had.
No one's going to help us. We have to help ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's my think on it, you know what I mean?
Another thing, I suppose, we took from it that was interesting, I suppose, that we weren't, I suppose, aware of was obviously the role within the president of the MCI is, to be there to represent the 33 various clubs. But it's not as if, you don't exactly have the final say. You were relying on these 33 clubs to come together to agree on certain things, whatever it is that's going on at the time. And I think it became very clear that, I suppose, the issue at the minute is that there's not there's not that unity. It seems that there's obviously an issue there somewhere where they can't get all the clubs to agree for whatever reason. Not entirely sure, but you'll hear more of that in the interview as well. That was something we definitely took away from it. But yeah, look, by and large, it was a good chat with him, and I think people are going to enjoy this one.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, look, one of the critiques one of the things that was laid against the MCU was the lack of not transparency. That's the wrong word. Basically, the newsletters. Do you know what I mean? There needs to be a bigger social media presence. Do you know what I mean? Like inform people what's going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if it's just once a month to say, listen, look, we're still following this up on this, few little bits and pieces. And I think, and in fairness to Dave, he kind of agreed with it. He said, "Yeah, this is something that we're looking at, and they're dropping down there a bit on that one. But bring people with you. People know what's going on.
If they do something like that, Tony, it's keeping every person in the loop.
Yes,
they know what's happening. They know what's going on.
Right? Exactly.
But at the minute, nobody knows absolutely jack shite.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's like, we said it before in a podcast as well. It's like, to give an example, if, you hear a site that's been sold up in Dublin City, and there's a 10-story apartment complex going on it, and the deal is done, and a year later, there's nothing there. People automatically presume there's fucking nothing going on. Yeah. What they don't see in the background is the engineers, the solicitors, the architects, the planning that's coming together.
There's a lot of red tape in a lot of these things. Unfortunately, that's the way they work. But to cut through all that red tape sometimes is very difficult. But
yeah. Well, look, without further ado, we're going to bring you the interview with Dave, and definitely please get in contact with us. Let us know your thoughts, and join us then on Thursday. We're going to have reserving on the podcast, so that's another good one.
Number 59.
Number 59, base. We're going in the right direction. We'll be at 100 by Christmas, will we? No.
We will not shite. What do you think we
want? Right, over we go. So, here we go, over to the man himself, David McCann. Folks, I'd like to give a massive welcome to MCI President David McCann. David, we're very, very welcome to the podcast.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you.
No, it's our pleasure. I'm joined in studio here. We've got the gaffer here, Eamon Killeen is here. We've got Tony Moore and we've got Charlie Riley. So just if you hear those other voices, they'll be probably familiar to most people. Maybe not so much yourself, David, but that's who we've got here anyway.
Hello, David.
Yeah. Hello, how are you?
Well, David.
That's the chat, and this is Tony here. So all good.
Okay, hi, Tony.
All good to go. Come here, David, before we kick it off, just a little bit about yourself, if you would. A bit about maybe your own background and kind of how you got into the role that you're in, if you start us off there.
I'm an enduro man. I've been riding enduro for the last while. We've started in motocross. I've done trials, do touring, do rallies. But in a few years ago, as you might know, in the history of it, we had a bit of a falling out with the then president, and we looked for a change at the top, which is what we got, and that was no mean feat. He was there for nearly 40 years, which we saw as non-viable. Like what happened in the 80s and what was viable in the 90s wasn't necessarily 2022, 2023 stuff. We had lost our insurance, which was the motivator for everything. There was a lot of the peasants were revolting at that stage, as they say, because we'd no insurance, we'd no racing, and we'd no prospect of getting back racing. as the insurers just had washed their hands of us at that stage.
Mm-hmm. I get you. Yep. So you stepped in then, you were elected then as the MCI president.
Well, I never asked to be, I have to say. I was told to put my money where my mouth was, sort of thing. You know, I had been, myself and another group had been probably doing the most shouting. But I stand, and to this day, I stand on the platform of elections and change at the top. We stood on that platform, and that's what it's not insurance, it's not any of the other things, while they're all very important. My principle is that we should have free and fair elections. At least every 2 years, the role of president should change. And nobody should be afraid, as they were in the past, to put their name forward for election. And this is why I welcome the opportunity that Paul and Sean Henry and Alex Sinclair, that hasn't happened in 40, 50 years, that we've had 3 or 4 candidates willing to go forward, willing to have a vote, and willing to have a choice. And that is what I stand for. I had all the other things, to me, occurred during my presidency. There weren't things I went looking for. There were problems I had to solve. But my mission is elections, and that the president doesn't just sit there and presume he's going to be elected the following year. So I'm absolutely delighted there's going to be elections for all the posts in motorcycling Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, look, that's. I suppose it's great to see it, that there's obviously a bit of a thirst there, and for maybe other people that want to get involved. And as I'm sure, like everybody's aware, whoever is going to be the next or the ongoing MCI president, it's no easy task ahead of them. We're obviously, just going back to the story you said, with in previous years, we're kind of in probably, I suppose, a similar situation, or have been in a similar situation at the minute with regard and getting insurance and stuff getting up and running. So it's not going to be straightforward.
Well, we have insurance. We've had insurance since July, but we just can't get it across the line. We've had an offer of insurance from our current person since July, but here we are in November and it's still not signed off. And the insurer is getting very touchy at the moment, and we've been told, like, either lads, you either take this insurance, or we put the cover and the money that we've provided for this insurance, we place it somewhere else with some fella running a tower crane. But they've put money aside for our liability, and it's not been used. It'd be the same as a kitchen fitter making a kitchen for a woman in some place in Ireland, and her not taking it for 3 or 4 months. You'd be fairly touchy yourself,
Can I just so you say it isn't signed? This is Tony here. Just so you just say Tony, it isn't signed. It isn't signed off. Like,
yeah.
Can you elaborate as to why it hasn't been signed off, or is there something that's stopping it from being signed off within the? Is it from the committee, or that's what I just wanted to pour down into that one. You know what I mean?
Well, you see, first of all, we'd have to understand, and I think this is fundamental to the whole thing. You have to understand what Motorcycling Ireland is, and the Motorcycle Union of Ireland is. And there's an awful lot of misconceptions out there about what it actually is. So if I could just turn the table slightly, Tony or Charlie or maybe even Brendan, and ask, you as sort of the man in the street, but I know you know more than most, what you think Motorcycling Ireland is.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Foster Files, a podcast where we tell stories about animal rescue and animal welfare. My name is Kelly, and in the last 2 years of fostering dogs, I have learned that the animal shelter problem in the United States is much larger than I could have ever imagined. In this podcast, I talk to guests in vet care, dog rescue, cat rescue, bird rescue, and beyond. I also learn from animal trainers, shelter administrators, and from my own experiences in an attempt to pass that information along to all of you. If you love animals and are passionate about getting involved, The Foster Files is your next favorite podcast.
Yeah, well, I suppose my interpretation, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't overly, I wasn't 100% to be honest with you myself up until recent months. But I suppose just going on to your website and obviously in the ground roots and talking to lads, I suppose my understanding of MCI is to be there as a representation or a government body or a provider for people that are in all aspects of motorcycle racing within Ireland, within obviously the Republic of Ireland. So I presume that was something I kind of wanted to talk more about as well, and we'll get back onto that now shortly. But yeah, I suppose that's my understanding of it.
Well, you see, what Motorcycling Ireland is a conference, if you like. I'm just using words now that are coming to mind. There's 33 clubs, and we represent those 33 clubs. And it's the clubs that run Motorcycling Ireland, not the president. The president actually has no vote at the boardroom, in the boardroom. The 7 conveners of the different disciplines, which are veteran and vintage, touring, trials, enduro, motocross, short circuits, and road racing. There are 7 conveners who are elected by the clubs, and they come together in a conference, and they tell the committee what they want done. And me as the president, Derek Keogh as the treasurer, Graham Sheehan as the secretary, and Darrell Lowe as the man in the office, we have to do what the 7 directors, they're not actually, we're using the word loosely, the 7 directors tell us to do. We're only the workers. But Motorcycling Ireland is set up to provide rules for the sport in the form of the GCRs, the general competition rules, and to amend them and to approve them and to do changes to them, to do dates so that we share out the dates properly, to organise other things, to be represented at things like children's safety, the safeguarding, drugs seminars, drugs awareness, and represent ourselves and our country at international level in the FIM. We're not a public body. We're owned by 33 clubs, and the 33 clubs are the people we answer to. And the way we answer to them is in the form of the convener. So in motocross's case, their convener will meet with all the clubs. He's meeting them all on Thursday. He'll get their opinion. He'll come back to the table and he'll talk to the other 6 guys, and then they'll instruct us on how the thing is to proceed. Like, we brought the insurance to the directors, and we said, here's the insurance. It's going to cost X, and here's the conditions that the insurance will be given on. And so far that doesn't suit me, that suits me, the cost is too expensive, how are we going to fund it? Then we have to do a budget, and then it has to go back to the clubs. Can we afford this? Can we not afford it? I don't like that piece in the policy. Can you change that? So we go back and we change things, and we go back to speak to the insurers. I was with the insurers today, changing 2 clauses in it, which we hope were the final 2 clauses to be changed. One of them was around practicing, to get the wording correctly so we can practice. And the other small one today was, there was a 5-meter rule where spectators had to stand back 5 meters from the track. That was never intended to be a 5-meter rule. It was, if you're not going to adhere to the rules we put in, you have to have everybody back 5 meters. It was a backstop, but that's been negotiated through today anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you say, just to backtrack slightly. So basically, you said that's the exactly number what I'm getting at is, where the delay was, because that's all people want to know. Like, what I mean? We're not pointing the finger at anyone, as I said, and you've clearly laid out what your function is, and you're at the behest of the clubs. At the same time, it has to be pressed, to the groups, like, listen, pull the finger out here. Do you know what I mean? Because exactly as you said it yourself, otherwise the insurance companies are losing interest in this. Do you know what I mean? So
no, absolutely. And the thing that we're trying to foster is more of a club atmosphere. Like, I mean, I got into trouble there, not into trouble, but I got slagged for saying, lads, will you go through the clubs on a post that I put up online? And I have to, I'm not an individual. I have to work through the clubs. And if I say something that's out of order or post something online, that's my own thoughts. I have my own thoughts on loads of things, and you don't want to hear most of them, you know. But that's not my function. If I post something that the clubs don't agree with, then that's not fair to them, because I'm representing them and I'm their representative. But like, you look at Lochshinny, Classic Bike Racing, Paul's Club, you know, loads of clubs, Walterstown, around the country, fantastic club atmosphere in them. Christmas parties, you know, celebrations for weddings and funerals and bar mitzvahs and all sorts of things, you know. And then you have clubs out there that just want to take your license money and give you a start permission or whatever, you know. But those clubs who pay an affiliation to Motorcycling Ireland are the people that we represent. We don't represent people who are not members of clubs, because they're not members of an organisation that are members of Motorcycling Ireland. We can't be a public body. We're not a public body. Again, I know I'm repeating myself. The clubs who are affiliated to the centre are the people we talk to and the people we represent. And if you want to be represented, you join a club, you become a club member, you go on committees, you go on things and you voice them at club meetings. I know West Cork club, Conor McCarthy down there, he's a fantastic club atmosphere. And all the lads, he calls them all in, all the members in, asks for their opinion, and then he goes back with that opinion. And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely, yeah. No, look, everything you're saying sounds you know, very reasonable. But I suppose, you know, for the likes of us, like, obviously we're not a member of any of these clubs, and I suppose the vast majority of motorcycle enthusiasts in Ireland, I think, would be fair to say, are not members of these clubs either. But at the same part, we live for racing, whether it be short circuit racing. Like, around the table here, we've got, you know, Tony has done a bit of racing, he sponsors a racer. For myself, I've done track days, used to do a bit of motocross racing. We've got lads here that religiously go to the Isle of Man. Eamon's been to the Isle of Man last year. So, you know, road racing is a massive, and on all aspects of race, is a huge part of our life.
Yeah.
And I suppose from us, from the outside looking in, you know, you would obviously, I think, get the opinion that there seems to be a lot of discontent within perhaps Motorcycling Ireland or within the various clubs with regard to, I suppose, the lack of insurance, which is obviously has been a big issue. Or is it the lack of insurance or the lack of funding? I'm not sure. So would you agree with that? That it seems to be a good bit of discontent at the minute, or is it just what we're seeing on social media and stuff?
Well, again, and you know, the clubs are coming to us, and the clubs, I don't think there's discontent. They understand fully that we've no insurance, and they understand the reasons we've no insurance, and they understand the pressures we're under, and the lengths that we've gone to get insurance. And the policy we have at the moment is tailor-made. Like, they've written insurance law in some cases. We've come up with innovative ways to get insurance, and the insurers are you know, impressed enough with us as a professional body that they're willing to take a chance on us, and it's a huge chance. Like, they're putting 13.5 million or 13 million of their money on the line that we're going to behave properly, you know. But the general public, the man on the ditch, the man in the, you know, like Skerries, I'd be down at Schoolhouse Corner there, I'd be in Hills. That's where I'd be, and I'd see all the people on that app. I'd never gone the other end of the course. I don't know why, but those people on the ditch are the people you're hearing on social media, in my opinion, and that's purely my opinion. The people who are running the clubs on that have a forum in Motorcycling Ireland, and their views are heard every month. Once a month, we have a monthly meeting We've numerous WhatsApp groups, numerous subcommittees, and their opinion is being heard, I think. But the man on the ditch is probably not being heard, I agree. But that is not what Motorcycling Ireland is set up to do. Perhaps we need an organisation to represent the fans and the race fans. But Motorcycling Ireland, as I say, is set up to represent 33 clubs, and of which at the moment we've 29 that are affiliated. And that's who we answer to, is those clubs, because we're sharing out their dates, we're sharing out the rules, we're writing the rules, we're dealing with the Ulster Centre and the MRA, who we have a great relationship with, for various motocross dates, for enduro dates. And then you go, road racing is the big one because it's the showcase of the whole thing. And love road racing. Absolutely, I haven't got the nerve to do it, but I love watching road racing. And we're devastated we haven't got it. And part of the problem is we won't go further without road racing. And some people are saying, well, we have to go on without road racing. And our committee, the current one that's there, are saying, no, we're not leaving any soldiers behind this time. We got a promise the last time, and it was reneged on by the insurance company. And this time we're adamant we're not leaving anybody on the battlefield, you know.
So I suppose just on that then, like, so is funding an issue, David? Is funding a big issue? Of course,
huge. You're talking about 600,000. Like our policy, you know, going back the years, I remember we paid maybe 130,000 for insurance. 230 was sort of average that we paid for insurance. Now we're being asked for 630,000 all in, with fees and taxes and everything else. 630,000 out of probably 1,100 competition licenses. It just doesn't add up, you know. But we made it work.
Generally speaking, do you rely on kind of, I suppose, donations and stuff like that, or fundraising efforts, or what? Or is it down to license fees, or how do you usually generate your funds for paying insurance and the like?
Half of the money comes from licenses, and half of the money comes from permits, in selling permits. So a road race permit is probably, in this insurance, will be in excess of 30,000. An enduro permit will be 2,500. So if you look at Mondello's permits will probably be about 10,000. They'll run 5 races. So that's them putting in 50,000 into the pot. Whereas motocross will run an awful lot more races, but their permit will be cheaper, and they'll put the same amount into the pot, but they have more license holders. So they'll bring in more license holders, hopefully. And short circuits don't have as many license holders. So with mutual cooperation, we should be able to, the budget that Derek has done, we should be able to fund it if everything goes to plan.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's something that we touched on a previous podcast as well. And it just seems, I suppose, if I'm being honest with you, it just kind of feels like Motorcycling Ireland are missing a big trip here with, obviously, the role of Motorcycling Ireland is there, as you said, to represent those various clubs that you spoke about. But I suppose at the grassroots of it, you know, it's the lad on the ditch that you mentioned earlier on. It's the guy that goes to Mondello that maybe gets a bit of an adrenaline rush for seeing it, and maybe goes, you know, so maybe I'll give that a bit of a go, or I'll start, and goes to his local bike club or bike and buys his bike and then joins his local club and all that sort of stuff. So on that whole side of it, I gave an example before of another sport that I'm into, that I'm involved in, and I pay a membership fee to an association of €25 per year. What do I get for that €25? I get fuck all, if I'm being honest with you. But I get a small little card saying I'm a member of the club, and I get a newsletter then just on events and stuff that's coming up. And more important than that, I know my €25 is going towards keeping that organisation and keeping that sport alive, and someone to fight your corner, especially when it comes to insurance. So I do kind of feel, are we not missing a trick here where that we could make Motorcycle Ireland actually accessible to the non-racer, to the general motorcycle enthusiast, with something like that. Like, obviously, if you do the math on it, if you look at the amount of registered motorcycles in Ireland, it adds up to a healthy number, you know.
It's not the function of it the way it's set up at the moment. That's not the function of it. The function of it of Motorcycling Ireland is to agree the rules of every discipline. It was set up back in the day by Mr. Percy in 1902. Motorcycling Ireland is the oldest federation in the world, to the best of my knowledge. It was set up because they were running a race in Dublin and they had certain rules. And then you were running a race in Carlow and you had a different set of rules. It was like trying to play pool in the different areas. There was different rules. So they set up the society to agree the rules of it. So this is a 600cc. This is a super stock. This is a whatever. This is a super bike. It was firstly set up to agree the rules, and then it was set up right. There's 1,000 people. Right, you have a race on the first week. I'll have a race on the third week, and we'll share it out like that. And that's the function of Motorcycling Ireland, where you're talking about the man on the ditch and all that. Lochshinny Supporters Club is a huge club. And they're all race supporters and they all pay their 25 quid. And the bigger the club, the more clout you have at the boardroom. Because if you have 1,000 members in your club and they're all giving you 25 quid, well, then you have no problem paying for your permits. And the club is a strong club and we have a good, strong club ethos. And that's what we want, is a big club ethos, rather than having this monster called Motorcycling Ireland having some sort of a monopoly over people's thoughts and actions. That's not what we want. We want to be a governing body and govern the sport rather than being a supporters group. Those are the clubs, and those are the clubs that should be coming to the union, and us providing the clubs back down with best practice for governing bodies, which we do through Sport Ireland and the Federation. We're at seminars out there that we'll never get that time back in our life, listening to the seminars out there. And we're talking to the minister. We have our own dedicated rep in Sport Ireland. Brian, who's a super guy, does as much as he can for us. And the clubs are where those people should be, is in the clubs. And the clubs then come to us, but we're not sort of set up to deal with the public because we're a governing body. You don't have the people in the GAA going down to Crow Park to talk to the GAA, or the people in Horse Sport Ireland going. They're members of clubs who speak to, like our local team here. They have representation at the GAA level, and all the people in this local area remember the GAA club, but they don't think they can be members of the GAA council, if you know what I mean.
Well, could the club, like I'm saying, like I said, I hear what you're saying, that you can't do that, but if the clubs can do that, could they not have put everything together?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
yes, that's what we want.
Yeah, but like I said, if you had an umbrella, whatever you want to call it, but it encompasses all the disciplines, all the clubs, and that you have your badge every year and you have your membership that can deal with the public. But but at club level. But I mean, there needs to be join up the dots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's more what I'm talking about. I think as alluding back to what Brendan said, that's a trick I think that the clubs are missing. That if they put it all together, and you've got your newsletter every month for the general public, and you got your badge, your yearly subscription and all that. But that's what the clubs need to be doing. But I mean, someone has to put that to the clubs.
Oh, absolutely. And I put up my hands. Like, we missed the trick so badly on the PRO. Like, we weren't ready for that. And like, we were a bunch of people who came from clubs who took over Motorcycling Ireland 2.5 years ago. Like, we weren't ready for that. And, and again, we're going back to the way it was. There was nothing in Motorcycling Ireland to handle that because it was never an issue in the past. And social media to the last President, wasn't something that was on his radar at all.
But
it's so important now.
But the function is to obviously is to guide guide the clubs. Again, you can only put it to the clubs and whatever feedback you get. But I think the social media end of it, like I said, just looking at the website there, you know what I mean, and would it be a legitimate criticism to say like
absolutely we missed the trick there completely.
But that's it. You need to be pushing because it's the guy on the hanging out with a hedge or whatever. Yeah. He's the guy that's that's where the revenue is. Not all of it, but I said there's I think the clubs are missing a trick there by just having an umbrella. That just raises, and that could also fund that revenue could also fund the social media aspect of it. To cover
I fully agree with you. I absolutely fully agree with you. And again, the way it's set up at the moment and the constitution of it, the way it is at the moment, my hands are tied on that one. I can only deal with the clubs and with the conveners, and the conveners are the representatives of the club at boardroom level. Yeah. And if the clubs aren't strong, if you have
rules are made to be broken. Like I said, you have to.
We are Irish.
Don't get me wrong. No, but again, it should be put to the clubs. We can change the constitution, an amendment.
Oh God, yeah, that can be done at any age.
What I mean? But I think that's go back to what Bram said. I think.
I suppose
everyone's missing a big trick there because again, number one, it'll fund the social media, and also generate a lot more revenue for all the clubs.
Yeah, it's like anything and any sport in life, and everyone wants to be part of a club. Do you know what I mean?
Human nature.
Yeah, exactly. It's just human nature. It's part of it. And I think, and I understand exactly as you're saying with Lough Shinny and the likes of those clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you take Dublin, for instance, the cap of Dublin, the amount of motorcyclists, and unfortunately, people that genuinely probably would have a good interest in racing and would go to race, but wouldn't know of Lough Shinny. Do you know what I mean? To say, do you know something? I'll get in contact with those guys and see if I can pay a membership. And obviously, I just do genuinely believe we're missing a trick, especially obviously as you said, and as you rightly said, like times have changed obviously, and you're going from, as you're saying, 30,000-40,000 euros a year to 10, 15 times that, which is tough going. It's very, very tough going for everybody, but. It was always kind of our opinion that if the normal Joe Soap could get a little bit more involved, and as we say all the time on this podcast, bikers tend to be the first people to put their hand into their pocket. I just think definitely there's a place there.
Every road race that goes on, you look at the crowds that go to the racing.
Yeah,
and the amount of people that would not blink an eye for throwing in €25 to become a member or whatever it is, and just get a little badge to say, well, you're a member of whatever club.
Yeah, but like I said, you need, if it's under the umbrella of the whole, you can't just have separate groups.
No,
have all under one umbrella, and that revenue is then pooled for insurance, for social media. The more content that you have on social media, the more people are going to log on into that website, the more it's going to spread. That's the modern times, and that's what you have to do.
Absolutely. And so go ahead, David. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just saying, isn't it fantastic that we're having this conversation?
100%.
Absolutely.
Like I've been involved in this for 30 years, and I've been on boardroom level for more than 10. Isn't it fantastic we're having this conversation and this debate, because this would have never happened before. And all these ideas and all these people, all these fantastic people like Stacey and Paul and Sean Henry, all these people who are there within our community of bikers, and were overlooked and passed over. When I stand down on Saturday, I will hand it over to somebody who will have new energy and new thoughts and new ideas. And like all these things we're talking about now is what I fought for and what I believe in. And I believe in what you are saying there. And if I don't agree with it, that's not, that's neither here nor there. But
the debate, robust debate is healthy.
Absolutely.
In any organisation.
Absolutely. We'll never, and being Irish, you can come up beside me, but don't pass me out is always going to be the Paddy's way, We will always disagree with, a fella who has a good idea, we'll try and spin it around that it was actually your idea in the first place, But I mean, that's just the way it is, and that's the way Irish people are, and we just have to get on with it. But I think the fact that we're able to have this, like nobody 10 years ago, nobody before all this happened even batted an eye about Motorcycling Ireland or even knew where it was. Now look where we are. We're talking about opening it up, getting people more involved, people not afraid to be elected to be president of the thing. We've a history going back there. The first man who was the first president, and this is where I get a spine-tingling honour, is that I'm the president now of Motorcycling Ireland, that John Boyd Dunlop, the inventor of the pneumatic tyre, because he didn't like the road in the Phoenix Park, which is the legend, and he said there must be a better way of getting down this bumpy road, and because of Motorcycling Ireland, he invented the pneumatic tyre, and he was our first president. And now people aren't afraid, and that should have always been passed down along, and new energy coming in, and new thoughts coming in, and new ways of doing business coming in. But unfortunately, we've been overlooked for so long.
Yeah, look at that's well, it's it's interesting to and it is great to hear your that side of it, to see I suppose in certain circumstances to agree with what we're saying as regards that it obviously it is very, very healthy to have debate, but I suppose maybe some of these some of the clubs, and obviously there's no one doubt it, I'm sure they all work very, very hard, and they certainly don't have an easy task, and maybe it's good for them to hear obviously the likes of this podcast, to know that, as we said, that man or woman on the ditch that's watching it, they all support them. They want to see it succeed, and if that meant probably, I would genuinely imagine putting their own hand in their pocket to make, I suppose, this whole, get back to where we were with road racing there. I genuinely believe they would do anything that they could to, to make it happen. And I genuinely do believe that is the general outlook on Motorcycling Ireland.
Brendan, on that as well, like as you said, that man, that woman, the amount of families for a family day out that goes to, say, decide that road to watch lads ride around the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not just...
No, it's a generational thing. You can, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And they make weekends out of it. Like, I mean, you've seen Skerries, Killane. We've stayed up there weekends when it was going. Wallerstown. Go the old 4. Remember?
Four out over the bridge. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
I would have seen it with the motocross, going out different tracks like Vernon Mount down in Cork and Doon, and tracks around Ferns when it was going. And like that, it's a whole family thing. There's maybe the dad maybe has hung up the boots, or maybe he's still doing a little bit, or he's in the vets, and the kids come along. And it is very true. I suppose, just going back to an earlier point you said about, some people maybe are of the opinion that if we can't get insurance for maybe the roads, to park it and keep going. But, I probably am under the...
It won't work.
No, you probably have to probably bring it all with you, because, I suppose a lot of kids, when they're riding, they're dreaming, of one day, getting on the roads and or on the short circuit, I suppose. And yeah, you have to bring it all, I suppose. That's the most.
But we like, I mean, you look at it. I started on a Francis Barnett in Red Bog, and which was our local track in Blessington, and ended up over in Johnstown, and and then you move on. And now I motocross, and then enduro, did trials, and now I'm doing touring and stuff like that. So we all cross-pollinate across all the disciplines. The amount of enduro riders who do track days, do short circuits, the amount of guys we get all the road racers down to enduros during the winter, because that's how Derek Shields rides enduros. All these guys ride enduros. They all ride trials as well. They all come on the tours. And you see, we have to get back to this theory of the union, and the union of all the disciplines, and we all scratch each other's backs. Like there you are. Like my granddad rode, My uncle's rode bikes. I have pictures of my uncle Tony out in Skerries. I've ridden. My son was Irish champion one year, and his son, so my grandson, is now riding Team Blue with Yamaha. So I mean, well, I don't think he is this year because he's gone on to 125s this year. But I mean, it's a generational thing, and you're either have it in your blood, and the Motorcycle Union of Ireland and Motorcycling Ireland is in my blood, and I'll never be apologetic for that. And I believe firmly in the union of all the disciplines, and that we all scratch each other's back and we all fund each other. If I'm funding a short circuit today, that's fine. They're funding me tomorrow, where you're talking about people in the ditch there get involved in your club, go and do marshal for them, go and help, go and lick envelopes for them, or make a post.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. But I said the guy from Cork is going to go up to Dublin. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you focus people that's for the whole South, that they can get their badge, get their membership, have their newsletter every month or whatever, feature a rider on a different discipline. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That social media aspect will generate revenue.
Yeah, and it creates it creates that club. That
absolutely
call it a club.
Everyone.
It does. It creates that club. Just another thing I just wanted to ask you, David, as well. Obviously, we heard talks about when the RRAI was briefly up and running at that time. There was some talk about maybe some sports grants available.
We get one every year.
Yeah, what do you reckon the state of play is with that? And just as you said there, you get one every year. I didn't know that, and I would say probably the vast majority of people aren't aware of that. So what way are things at the minute in that end of things, do you reckon?
Well, you see, this is the whole issue. There is obviously more that can be got, but even Paul McMahon said it in his interview with you there, that they won't give you money for insurance. None of them will give you money for insurance. Mm-hmm. They won't say, because it's a current expenditure, and current expenditure to them, it's just gone because it has to be. If it's not economically viable, they're not going to support it in that way. What they will give you money, and Paul has said this himself, is they will give you money for administration. So if you have a girl or a boy or a man or whatever in the office answering the phone and doing the licenses and doing the permits and all the rest of it, and you have to give her 30 grand a year, well, they'll fund you for that. And there is money available for funding. But only recently, we have women in sport. We got 10 or 11,000 for women in sport. Mm-hmm. We got 50 grand. I think we're getting 60 grand this year for administration. We've been running it ourselves, so we haven't necessarily had huge costs. We haven't had anybody in the office, and we haven't had the rent that we had out in Balbriggan, and we haven't had the rates and all those sort of things. And it still costs us 100 grand to run the centre, just in day-to-day expenditure. And not one of us have taken a penny out of it. It costs me money to do it. Like the other day, there was sandwiches bought for a meeting, and that was Davy McCann put his hand in his pocket for 50 quid for them, And, I may get that money back, but I may not. But there is more money there, and it needs to be lobbied for. And the lobbying for it is the issue. You need somebody to go and lobby for the money. If you want to build a clubhouse or a nice ice skating rink or some capital expenditure, sure, the government are all over that. And if you can come to them with a business plan for tourism, say, we're going to bring 100,000 tourists to the Rally of the Lakes, which Motorsport Ireland are going to do, sure, we'll fund that because we can see an outcome of it. But just to give you money and say, right, your insurance is 600,000 because you keep falling off your motorbikes, they're going to say, no, lads, no, we're not into that. And we've had that conversation with the minister and with Brian Staunton in Sports Ireland. We've had the conversation with them. And they say, that's not going to happen because we do it for you. We have to do it for archery all the way down to xylophone playing because they'll all be in looking for it, I
know, absolutely, yeah. I suppose just, going back on that and couple of points that we kind of talked about before. Do you think, and again, I know, I suppose maybe this is not within the realms of MCI, but is there an opportunity to build it like, I suppose, a business platform, if that makes sense? Like we have some of the best roads, and Ireland is known for, like, if you hear any of the, we've read a lot of books and stuff from road racers and all down to up to British Superbike, World Super, and they all mention the road race in Ireland. So we have something that you can't replicate in any other part of the world. So, I suppose the key ingredient we have, and we have the enthusiasm, we have the supporters. Is there maybe a is it possible, do you think, that maybe it could be maybe run in some way as a business, as to go to various companies, I suppose, to be like a main sponsor of an event that they could maybe contribute towards, obviously, the soaring insurance costs?
Well, fundamentally, me personally, I'm against it being treated as a business, and I always objected to that, because there's so many volunteers out there putting up stakes in the middle of fields and putting tape on stakes and putting arrows up and putting safety bales out and storing safety bales and driving trucks. There's so many volunteers out there that if you run it as a business, you're disenfranchising them, because they're all volunteers, and it's based on a volunteer basis. And if you bring money into anything, the green-eyed monster comes around after money. Oh, he got a tenner, I should get a tenner. He got 100 quid for doing that, I should get it. But yes, and this is why we should be going forward. We've done a lot of work with Fáilte Ireland on the Wild Atlantic Way, and a motorbike tour on the Wild Atlantic Way, and you get your card stamped, and then Motorcycling Ireland handle it for Fáilte Ireland and give you a badge to say that you've done the Wild Atlantic Way from start to finish. And that's one of our little projects that's ongoing. There's other projects with Fáilte Ireland and that. And that's what the government like to see. They like to see us engaging with the other state agencies to promote Ireland, promote our sport as it relates to Ireland, and bring the whole thing forward that way. But as calling it a business, it's not a business. It's, again, back to this 33 clubs. It's a group of 33 volunteer clubs running races around the country. And that's the way I want to keep it, because, I was out in many a wet, windy day, stapling arrows on trees, and I don't want to think that I'm doing it for a business. I like to think I'm doing it for a group of like-minded volunteers.
Well, the volunteer have their place, always will.
Yeah.
But, I think you have to look at the Northwest. How many years ago that was nearly gone as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they kind of adapted the business model, like I said. The volunteer always has their place, but if there's no racing, there's the volunteer for. You know what I mean?
But look at the biggest success of the whole lot was rugby. Like, rugby wasn't a professional sport; it became it, and now look at it; it's a huge franchise. And as you say, the Northwest, definitely, if we can get corporate sponsors in, and that is absolutely key. If we can get corporate sponsors in to subsidise the permit costs for the clubs. So,
yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm not about, like you said, that's maybe that's you were taking it wrong, but the volunteer always has their place. You can't run the clubs without them. You can't run it without them.
Yes, you know what I mean? Absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
But a tier above that, they have to see that, you need to get, the bottom line is money. You have to get funding. You have to get money, so... Where maybe that's what I'm saying. It's
you see,
we're around saying a business. It's not a business as such.
Not to turn into a business, but I suppose run it like a business.
Well, the theory on that is, and we're talking to again. You see, you have to realise too that you can't just go into the Minister for Sport and talk to me. You have to deal through the chain of command, and the chain of command, and that is Sports Ireland. Sports Ireland don't give out money. The Minister for Sports gives Sports Ireland the money and says, there's whatever it is. I don't know what the budget is this year. 100 million. There's 100 million. You're to administer that money.
Yeah.
They're not giving it out. So what we're trying to do is get somebody to handle sponsorship and all that, that they will pay the person to get the sponsorship of people who then we can put that money into insurance. So in other words, we're getting the money through the back door into the insurance pot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's absolutely. But you try to get people to do it, and like I'm at my wit's end trying to get people to do it. But again, if we can get the minister through Sports Ireland to pay for somebody to get us sponsorship, like there's yourself, there's huge goodwill, and there's people in very high powered jobs out there who can legitimately write it off against tax. Sponsorship to sport, and that's part of being the governing body, is that you're entitled to give money to a governing body and have it written off against tax. But like Lough, they have 3 or 4 great sponsors that they wouldn't be able to run the race. Kells the same. They have great sponsors that they go to and say, we're running the race. Yeah, like Country Crest and people like that, And you're quite right. We have to harness the goodwill we have towards the centre out there and put the money back in that way.
That's what's lacking.
Absolutely, absolutely. But this is like the revolution in I don't know where, in Afghanistan or in Iraq, when they got rid of Saddam Hussein. You topple somebody, and then what happens? All these factions are out there now, all vying for power, and they all want to have a bit of and everybody has a good idea. But what we have to have at the end of the day is a stable platform on which to build these things, and the most stable platform we have is actually to have bloody events in the first place, and we have to get going with that. Because if we don't get going with that, all we are is a talking shop.
But that's the role. I would see the role of the above the clubs. Someone needs to gel all this together.
Absolutely.
But as I said, the Constitution can be changed. It can be amended.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what needs to happen.
And should be changed.
Yeah, sorry.
Just a quick one for you there, Dave. The 7 main disciplines that you're talking about there, is there a representative from each of them in a committee? Is there a committee with them 7 main disciplines together?
Yeah, it's called Motorcycling Ireland. That's the committee. That's all there is.
But that's the one that you're the president of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have to answer to these 33 clubs, which is kind of...
No, the 33 clubs are all in the different disciplines. Let's just say in veteran and vintage, you have the IVV, MCC, you have Black Church, you have all of... They're all within the veteran and vintage, and they have a convener. It's just another word for the head of commission. It's an old word that we've always used, is the convener. He comes to the board meeting, and the board meeting is where the 7 disciplines talk to each other, and they agree on policy. Not the board, not me. I don't even have a vote at the boardroom.
I know what you're saying, but as I said,
so I suppose we're kind of probably going back a bit now, but so at the start of the chat, we were just saying there that you more or less you have an insurance policy that's maybe viable for I suppose 2026, obviously at this stage, but it's held up at the minute, and that's held up at kind of club level. Is it? Is it trying to get these to decide and come to an agreement? Is that right in saying that?
Yeah. There's splits. People, we can do better. We'll do it better on our own. We'll do it our way. There's splits. There's little power struggles going on in the background. People want to split the whole thing up and have little subsections of the whole thing, and I'm not raking back over old coals now, but this is why I fought so hard to keep road racing alive within the union, because if road racing left, we're all fecked as well. Like, I mean, there's no way I want to see road racing out on its own, in its own little bubble out there, and not being part of us. When I say us, the wider motorcycling community, Like,
it definitely seems like there's it definitely seems like there needs to be an awful lot more unity, I suppose. That's
But see, it's the whole story. Like, me as a president of this club, the more lads is in this club, the more lads is going to bang heads off each other, the more harder my job is. So obviously, if you put it in, that's why we can have a cap in this club of 15 members, because it leaves it easier to control. When you're dealing with 33 different clubs all over the country with maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 members in each one of them, that's a whole lot of people. Then that's a big headache. And it's an impossible task. Like, when it gets that many people that have a different opinion, it leaves it very hard. That's why I was asking, like, was there one individual committee as such that has a representative from each one of them 7 different clubs, and they just get together and you trash it out and you sort it out, and you kind of, because you can beat around the bush forever, and
absolutely
nobody will ever agree. Nobody's ever going to agree on everything anyway. But
decision.
That's it. It's at the end of the day, it's to keep the whole thing alive. It's to keep it going, because if it keeps going on any longer, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder for it to ever take back off again. So
it'll disappear, and that's it. It'll never come back.
Yeah, I suppose you probably, as the lads are saying, are you running the risk? Well, you kind of said it yourself, Dave, with the insurance companies. Insurance companies are kind of waiting and going, well, what are you fucking doing, basically? Are you either taking it or not? And I suppose it comes down to the same thing with various members. If some club members want to go and more don't, and a decision hasn't made, then the ones that do eventually are they going to get to the point where God, so
look, it's getting to the stage it's like shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, that you have it, and that's that. I mean, I get on, I think, very, very well with the guy that we're dealing with in there, and he's a Rovers supporter, football true and true, and he can't understand motorcyclists wanting to scream around the place on motorbikes. He just doesn't understand it completely, but he fully respects the sporting ethos that we all have. And he is at the pin of his collar. And the last conversation with him I had, it started with, lads, will you come on? And he's like, you look at these guys, they're saying, right, we are going to cover these guys for 13 million, right? So, right, slice 13 million off there and put it to one side, and that's the way they have to do it by law. So they slice 13 million off their capital and say that's accounted for in Motorcycling Ireland in case they have a crash. Now they have that put aside, and as I said earlier on, they could use that 13 million capital somewhere else.
Oh yeah, to generate.
Yeah. Look, that's the thing. I suppose people don't realise that about insurance. Insurance companies don't have to sell you insurance. Do you know what I mean?
No,
you are at their mercy at the end of the day. If they decide, well, we're not going to sell you the policy, they're not going to sell you the policy.
It's you that's going to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they're in the business.
Yeah. So I suppose, like, David, going forward, then obviously your AGM is on Saturday. I think there's obviously massive talk all over social media. Obviously, we get it. I wouldn't be exaggerating. We've gotten probably close to 300 messages, I'd say, from different people asking, what's going on, and one of the biggest questions was, can anybody go to the AGM? Obviously, that's not that can't happen. But there seems to be, for whatever reason, massive hype, I suppose, behind Saturday night's upcoming election. So I suppose the question I'm asking you is, depending on the outcome and depending on who will be the new president or the existing president of MCI, what kind of a job have they got ahead of them? Do you know?
Well, just to take the first part first, as again, we're back to the clubs. Every club has 3 votes, and that's designed specifically for that reason, so that not everybody, as we were saying, as Tony was saying, or what maybe it was Eamon saying earlier on, not everybody will agree in a club. So every club has 3 votes, and all the affiliated clubs are the only ones allowed vote. And so we're back again to the fact that I represent those clubs and not their members. Their members are represented by the club. So they send 3 representatives of the club. They can be anybody within the club. They don't have to be on the committee. They can be the newest member to the oldest member. Those 3 people go to the AGM. So there should be 3 by 33, which in anybody, there should be 99 people, delegates there, all voting. And it's their votes that count, not a licence holder from Clonakilty. It's our Ballybuffet. It's the representatives of those 3 clubs, because the clubs set up Motorcycling Ireland. They're the ones who want the regulation and the legitimacy that Motorcycling Ireland brings. And until the constitution is changed to say that Motorcycling Ireland represents all supporters and all licence holders in the country, as we have it today, the constitution of Motorcycling Ireland, which is, its real name is the Motorcycle Union of Ireland Southern Centre Limited, set up in 1902, is to represent the affiliated clubs, not the general public. The general public is represented by the clubs, and it's snow lists down that way. So, that's the way it's set up at the moment. Absolutely, we have to have a debate. If you want to change it, work away, lads. It's ours to do with what we want,
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, another point on with regard to the funding. Obviously, you're saying, funding obviously is a huge issue. We've went over that. Do you think, funding aside, are they kind of in a position to financially be able to run all aspects next year of motorcycle racing? If you can get the insurance over the line?
I'm going to say, and this is my opinion, I'm going to say yes. There is, yes. In 2024, we paid the same amount of money for insurance, roughly speaking, without road racing. Now we have a policy that is roughly the same amount of money, and it includes road racing. So why can't we do it? That's my point. Why can't we do it? Yes, there's less. There's 3 road races in that budget, and the way we've come up with this, and your man in London just laughs at us. He calls it an Irish solution to an Irish problem. We couldn't afford the first tranche, which was over $1 million. It was almost 1.1 million was the first quote for insurance. So what we did was, I'll never forget it, because he was actually on holidays on a balcony in Portugal, and he was listening to this, and he was going, "Are you for real?" Because I says, "Look, what we want to do is cherry pick this. We want to do a shopping basket, a bundle deal. How much will you insure? 3 road races, 5 short circuits, and so on and so forth." And he says, "Well, if you're going to limit the numbers, I can do it for this." And then we discussed it down. So now what we have is a shopping trolley that we've walked around the insurance market with, and put what we want into that shopping trolley. And we've come up with a figure of 630,000. That's with taxes, levies, all sorts of things in. That's the total figure. And I reckon, because it's my board that's proposed it, I reckon we can do that. Take it, we'll pay for it somehow. By hook or by crook, we'll pay for it, because we're resourceful people. We're motorcyclists. We're used to adversity. We will pay for it if we just take the insurance and get going, because the longer we sit here talking about it, the more young motorcyclists are going off on mountain bikes and going off on hang gliders, and then bikes are being sold. If we can go out before Christmas and say, we have insurance for 2026, then people will be getting Santi to bring them new boots, and they'll be thinking about buying the new bike, and they'll be saying, right, we're definitely have it. It's in the bag. I'm going to get myself a new blade for doing Mondello. I'm going to get myself going to get my road license back. I'm going to get myself fit. I'm going to do my gym membership again. And I mean, we live for that. We don't have anything else. We live for bikes, We don't have football, and we don't have tiddlywinks and all the other things that people do. We just live and breathe motorbikes. and we have to be catered for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly, because we've some of the best riders in the south of Ireland, and you won't get them anywhere else because of the road racing.
Yeah.
Well, because of all kinds of racing, like we do.
But do you know what I'm trying?
Yeah, I do.
I know to start off maybe on trials bikes and all that.
No, 100%.
Once they get up to road racing standard, they're some of the best riders in the world.
No, absolutely, 100%. But even as regards like short circuit racing, which a lot of lads will go up and do short circuit racing, maybe won't go down the road racing end of things. But like as that, we have some phenomenal talent coming out of. I mean, I only have to say, Amanda, we're going to have on Thursday night Rhys Irwin. I mean, look at what he's accomplished over the past couple of years, which is no mean feat. And as we have said it before, and this is not a dig at MCI now in any way possible, but I'm just saying that if you can make it in Ireland as a professional motorcycle rider, I genuinely believe you would make it anywhere in the world, because as we said, we've come, for the past couple of years now, we've been unable to run a lot of events. And let's face it, a lot of these lads that are in their prime are not getting any younger. They're having to put massive financial strain on themselves to maybe go over to the UK and do some racing, or up the north and get some track days and stuff in. So I do genuinely believe it. Like, we genuinely have the talent here, and we definitely have the determination. I suppose what it boils down to after this conversation, Dave, is if we can just get some unity within the clubs to I suppose, get a decision made, get the insurance policy going. And as you say, get these people to make out their Santi lists, in the next couple of weeks.
We need imagination. We need what we're having now. We need imagination. We need to get more, out of the box thinking into this whole thing, and get it back up and running. Because as you say, like the Flying Eden Dairy man there, Kevin. You won't get a. I mean, where's he today? Like, I mean, I feel I've let him down, and I know the chap, and it's a great time for him,
Yeah, look, we've had Kevin on. We did a bit of a fundraising for him a couple of weeks ago. Tony, actually, who's you've been talking there, is one of his sponsors. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, he's a phenomenal talent. Not just picking him, but just saying it because obviously we know him. He's a phenomenal talent. That man is up at that. That man is up at 6 o'clock every morning in a van, heading to some part of the country to work, a 12-hour day, and comes home and puts every penny he has into it. So,
and he's a nice guy as well.
Real nice guy. Really good bloke, to be fair.
He's a terrible nice guy.
A real nice guy. We've had Holly Dennis on a couple of weeks ago. Phenomenal talent. So the talent is there. If we can just get these people to unite, I think is the word of choice here, and come together and see the bigger picture. Look,
as Tony just pointed out earlier there, boys, get everyone them under the one umbrella, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what Motorcycling Ireland is there to provide, know.
Absolutely.
But I think like heads need to be knocked together and leave the ego at the door.
Absolutely.
And it's for all disciplines. But if there could be a level put in there, again, constitution can be changed, that you have people there who are responsible for social media, who are responsible for corporation or whatever. I said, it's not business, but I said,
yeah.
So I think it's a trick. You're definitely missing a trick there. If you had some sort of thing that people can
the normal
with.
Exactly.
Wants to put the hand in the pocket, wants to feel involved, wants to be supported. I think that's a trick that's been missed by all the clubs.
I agree. And I'm sure with the MCI and there's exactly, especially with the role of the president, wouldn't it be nice to be in a position that to not have your main worry to be funding? Can we afford it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Look, it's all to play for. David, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thanks very, very much for coming on the podcast. I think we all learned a little bit this evening. Look, at the best of luck with everything going forward, I suppose.
But thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you guys. It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're very, very
and thanks. A big thanks to Terence Healy, Motorcycles, huge supporter of the centre, always has been. And without people like Terence and that in the background, we'd be at nothing.
Absolutely, yeah. Terence is a sponsor of ours as well here, yeah. And, a really, really great lad. But it's the likes of those lads that keep the whole thing taking over, you know.
It's the only way, like, you know.
Absolutely.
Look, we see what the outcome is then on Saturday and all. And if you want Dave, just keep us in the loop and let us know what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and onwards and upwards, as the fella says. I think, there's if we could just get the couple of little bits and pieces sorted, I'm sure we will have racing here.
Look, at the end of the day, best of luck to all candidates that's running themselves up on Saturday, whatever the case may be. Best of luck to everybody, and sure, hopefully something good comes out of it all anyway.
Absolutely. David, we'll talk to you soon, and take care of yourself, and sure we'll probably see you around the trap at some stage.
Okay, thank you, Brendan.
Thanks, David. Cheers, mate.
Hey, David.
Cheers. Bye.